I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing. So cold, behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts peeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have...
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you guys to another episode of Secular Activism Unfiltered. I am Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, and today I have a special guest with me all the way from South Africa, Dean Kruger. Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Kelly. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad you were able to come in, tune in today.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here.
Yes. So I like to start out by my guests giving a brief description of their deconstruction if they have one.
I don't know if it's going to be brief, but yeah, I can give it a go. So, I grew up in South Africa, like you mentioned. Where to start? Okay, well, like all South Africans of my generation, or the majority of them, I guess, we grew up in a Calvinist disposition, so to say. So everybody was religious around me. Everybody went to church. I grew up when I grew up, South Africa was still in the apartheid regime, which means I think I was 17 when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. So I was still in school at the time. But everybody grew up in that strict Calvinist regime. They called it Dutch Reform. So it is, guilt from A to Z, and a whole lot of feeling shit about yourself. But the thing about me is I was always a child that questioned. I always wanted to know why. I wasn't satisfied with people just telling me, well, that's the way it is, and you've got to deal with it. So I always had these questions at the back of my mind. But at the end of the day, everybody around me was doing it, so I was also doing it. But when it comes to deconverting from religion, it wasn't an overnight thing. I didn't wake up one morning and then I realized, how the sky is empty. There's nobody watching from the sky. It was a gradual process. I always liken it to that expression where they say death by 1,000 cuts. So for me, it was. When I left home as a young adult, the first thing I did is I moved to another city. And the city that I moved to had a very big South Africa was colonized by a lot of different places, the Dutch, the English. But the city that I moved to, there was a large influx of Indian migrant workers that they brought in to work on the sugarcane farms way in colonial Africa. And So my first encounter with another religion was Hinduism, and all of a sudden I said to myself, well, fuck, look at this, this is something new, this is something else. And I, that also, at first it didn't really make a big dent, but after a while it popped this question at the back of my head. And at this time I was a young man, so I was this was probably around about 25, 30 years ago that this happened. And the question dawned on me, and it says to me, like, wait a minute, like, they can't all be right at the same time. You can't have both Jesus being true and then also the Indian gods, that pantheon, also being true at the same time. And I said, and it more or less sowed a little seed of doubt in me. And then I went on a couple of years, and then I moved to another city, and then I encountered another religion. There was a bunch of Muslim people that lived in that city, and I said to myself, wait a minute, there's another one here. Because I grew up very insular, like we weren't exposed to all these weird flavors and weird flavors of religion. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, wait a minute, like now there's three, like all three can't be true at the same time, because A says it's true and B and C is false. B says it's true and A and C is false. And then C says it's true and A and B is false. And it never dawned on me to ask this question only until a few years in. This is probably about 20 years ago. And the question that I said to myself is, they can't all be true at the same time, but they can all be wrong at the same time. That's a distinct possibility. And it was basically the first major knock to believing, in anything supernatural. And it was a lot of asking these uncomfortable questions and being in an environment where, doubt wasn't necessarily frowned upon, where people actually encouraged these questions. I made some new friends, and I met my one friend was also complete agnostic, didn't really like the atheist label. It was still a couple of years ago, like there's a lot of baggage that comes with that atheist label. People think you run naked in the forest and sacrifice babies and have all this nonsense going down. So but that was my first time to encounter somebody who was so bold and courageous and saying, like, yeah, I don't believe this, blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't long after that when I just let it all go, and it wasn't at first. I just said to myself, like, well, fuck this. It moved from that space where I was like, well, like, Jesus is definitely not true, but there's got to be something else, like there's got to be, I can't believe everything is just like accidental and blah, blah, so it was a long process, and it wasn't an easy process. It was a very dark and lonely place, because I didn't have like people to talk to and to bounce these questions off. So all of this was basically like an inside job. But at the end of the day, I just said to myself, like, fuck it, I'm too tired. I'm too tired to do all of this.
Yeah.
I'm tired to go through all of this bullshit. And I let it go. And then it was only, probably about 10 years ago where I really adopted the label as atheist, and I didn't,
Yes.
And it's a couple of things that built up to that. I saw a lot of injustice in the world, and where I live especially, and I saw how I started to see, that expression, when you know how sausages are made, you lose your taste for them altogether. And that's the thing is, like I started to look into how these people operate and what the results are. And especially here on African soil, the results of religion is it's horrible. It's horrible what it does to people and how it exploits people.
Definitely.
And I'm sure it's the same everywhere, but here especially, they have no shame. They have absolutely no shame. They will exploit people, and you only need to do a casual Google search for crazy African pastor or African pastor exploits ... and you'll see pages and pages of search results. And we have stories of these people. They raise people from the dead. They don't fuck around here, they raise people from the dead. they do miracles, and it's half of it is Photoshop and half of it is some weird SFX in camera, and it's crazy. And they all do this because why? Because of cash. And it's the same everywhere. It's that saying, a fool and their money is soon parted, and that happens here especially. And they, like I said, have absolutely no shame. You will see them arriving at these impressive buildings in lavish automobiles, while there is
it's the same in America.
Yeah, there's a shanty town over here. Over here, you'll have a shanty town with people living in little boxes made with corrugated iron, cooking on fire, while this motherfucker rocks up in a Rolls Royce
the same.
with fur coats and Gucci and whatever, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a shame. Yeah, few things. But you just, when I was, I'm gonna say the 10th grade, that was when Nelson Mandela got free. I'm trying to think. 10th or 11th grade. But I remember we all got together and he spoke at, it's now closed down, but it was called Tiger Stadium. He came down to Tiger Stadium and spoke to a large audience. And then after that, they picked a couple students from different schools. And I was one of those students who actually got to personally talk to him one-on-one. And I, at that age, didn't understand how significant that was.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
That was a big deal. Yeah,
it
now
was a
I got to actually talk to Nelson Mandela one-on-one.
Yeah. But on that note, just to diverge on a sidetrack, the funny thing is, people always talk about this concept of being blissfully ignorant, and even looking at my parents, there was a very, very well-oiled evil machine of propaganda that ran in this country, and it there's a lot of historical things that with the colonizers coming in and encountering a very hostile native population, and then again, religion poisoned the minds of those people, because every single time they had a skirmish and they won a small battle or something, for example, all of a sudden they were God's chosen people. And religion gave a lot of the mandate, like apartheid was preached from the pulpit. It was preached from the pulpit in this country.
Like how slavery was.
Yep. 100%. So, I'm not trying to absolve anybody of any responsibility, because at the end of the day, everybody bought into it and nobody thought about it, but in retrospect, hindsight's always 2020, and I'm saying to myself, if religion, wasn't on this mission of saying, you are God's chosen people, you are here to subdue the land and, work the land and blah, 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 then, it probably would have, people would have snapped out of it a bit sooner, because they didn't have this religious justification for it at the end of the day. Yeah, but it's, the funny thing is, I'm involved with a community group of atheists here as well. And the funny thing is, I've made it my mission, especially because I've seen what religion does to the African mind on a first-hand experience. And I've made it my mission to whenever I find an African atheist, a black African atheist, I want to talk to them, and I want to talk to them and hear about their story, because and you'll see the YouTube channel that we run as well. You know, like we try to highlight those African voices, and you can go to every single country in the continent of Africa, and you will find free thinkers. You'll find people who have snapped out of it, so to say, who see it for what it is. And it's going to be a long, hard journey of waking people up. But you know, I love truth too much. I love truth too much to believe in a lie anymore. And people will always say to us, like, you know, what are you offering people in return? You know, what are you offering people in return? You're taking away
not a lie.
Exactly. And then they say, like, what are you offering them in return? You know, are you offering them anything? You know, look at the church. It helps them with charity. It gives them community. It gives them a sense of belonging. And like you said, I always ask them, I'm the type of person that prefers to be slapped with the truth than to be kissed with a lie. So, you know, any day you can come and give me a big, cold, hard truth slap, and I will appreciate it far more than I would, you know, your comforting lies. And the thing is, when you empower people with information, when you empower people with truth, they tend to become more independent. They tend to become more self-reliant. And that is something that religion also does. It teaches people that they are not worthy. They're not worthy of love. They're not worthy of recognition. And that everything about them is, you know, they have to pay some deference up on high. And it teaches people to be victims. It doesn't teach them to be the masters of their own destiny. And that is something that we've noticed as well. You know, like in our community especially, you'll find some fiercely independent people, and people who stand in their own truth, and people who live in their own truth. Because I wish that for everybody. You know, I wish for everybody to have an idea or a principle that they hold very, very dearly, for that to be challenged, and to be shaken up, because it builds so much character. It's not comfortable, but it forces you to look, you know, deep within, you know, to find out the motivation for, you know, and that is the thing that also played a big role for me. Is like, I asked myself not what I believed, I asked myself, why do I believe it?
Exactly.
Why do I believe it? Because, you know, whenever you ask people to tell you about why it's true or why this happened, you know, like, then they always tell you what happened. No, but, you know, there was a Jewish carpenter and a blah, 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 and a this and that. And all of a sudden, you know, in the storytelling, the truth gets lost. And people tend to like, they get lost in the weeds, because the more it's easier to hide inconsistencies and absence of evidence. It's easier to hide those things in a big tall tale. And we Africans as well, we love to tell stories. We're a nation of storytellers. And I'm going on a tangent here.
Oh, hey, go. Hey, I'm on for tangents around here. It's cool with me. You can give, So, like, what got me is when I started deconstructing, and the funny thing is that my daughters came to me and was like, "Mom, I'm starting to doubt this religion thing," and I had not talked to them myself, and I said, "Me too." So they started showing me videos where they were talking about pre-biblical stories that happened in the Hindu religion, stuff like that, that was describing the Jesus story.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, dang, so they stole these stories from other cultures.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that got me thinking, like, are you serious? So we went down that rabbit hole and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Why is this why we believe in this? I
Yeah,
can't anymore.
yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's the thing is like people again we come to this thing of like why don't you just leave religious people to have their have their religion like and stop harassing it and antagonizing them and everything but this is the thing is your beliefs inform your actions. Your beliefs have real world consequences and a real world impact on people in your environment. And you guys see this especially where some religious fruitcake gets a 4-year term in office and then all of a sudden they outlaw abortion, and then all of a sudden LGBTQ folk don't exist anymore, and so it has real world implications, and people are, and I say to people, how can you ask me that question? Why do I rally against this? Because it affects real people. It affects real people, and it has an impact on people's lives. So I'm the type of person I don't stand still in the face of injustice. I don't stand still in the face of oppression, because I have a real world experience of that, not only in the religious context, but you have a lived experience of seeing both sides of the coin of how it was and how it is now. And also then it leads you to think of how things can be, and how a world can be much better when you remove all of these oppressive and regressive ways of thinking. And I'm surprised that religion hasn't been the death of our species yet. I'm surprised because, you only need to look at history to realize how destructive, how many different wars have been fought in the name of religion, how many different peoples have been eradicated from the face of the planet just because they didn't have the right faith. I mean, and the richness and the
Yeah.
diversity of culture that we have lost because of this religion. It's only now that religion comes to us, with hands outstretched, offering a peace, a palm of peace. Now that they, looking straight into the face of science, when religion is no longer the, why is there thunder? Oh, the gods are angry. Like, why is it not raining? The gods are angry.
Yeah. Two things I'm going to say, then I'm going to ask you another question. Because I remember like during COVID, and people were sitting there putting posts and statuses saying, "Dear God, we're sorry for what we've done, that you want to curse us." And I'm like, what kind of God is that?
Yeah.
Why do you have that mindset? No, things just happen. Scientific virus and germs come,
Yeah.
and we're not safe and not careful. That's how this virus
Yeah.
got spread. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with no God and things like that, But that's my other thought. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just ask the question.
Oh, people went crazy. People went crazy with the pandemic. Hey,
Yeah,
it's like
they was like,
they were
God.
and they were fucking injecting themselves with farm animal medicine and all that bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
It's crazy, eh?
But see, people don't like change.
Yeah.
So they don't want to go through the process of evaluate. They want to just follow the leader.
Yeah.
And we have stepped outside of that and start thinking for ourselves.
Yeah.
That makes us different. This is what I want to say. So I had a coworker. She gets on my nerves. But
me too.
we have a discussion about different things. The first conversation, I won't talk about that. But the second one, we talked about, I said I was an advocate for separation of church and state.
Mm.
So she thought I was personally attacking her.
Mm.
No. If you want to worship, that's your business, but don't force me to be a part of it.
Exactly.
There's other form of Christianity that you're not a part of. There's other religions you're not a part of. Should they be forced to worship or not worship the way you worship? No. But they feel they get attacked by that, and it angers me so much. No.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
I want to I said, what if they take away your rights and have you only listen to a certain kind of music, like country, for instance? How is that fair for the government to do that? They never would do that. How do you know that? They try to control everything that we're doing now. You don't
It's
understand?
crazy, you know. But
Yeah.
this,
I
this,
understand your
this
thought
is,
process, girl. What's wrong with you?
yeah, this is the thing. It's like I think it comes with age, you know. Like it's there was this you know, she's very right leaning, which doesn't really sit well with me. But there was this one clip of this woman. You guys must know her as well. She's called Anna Kasparian. She is one of the,
No, I've never heard.
yeah. She's this you know, typical uh, uh, white lady right wing commentator, but she has. I think she's on the Young Turks or something, and she said this one thing. She said, "I don't care if you're a Christian."
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about
She
now.
said, "I don't care, and I will fight for
Heard of
your
her.
right.
Okay, yeah.
Fight for your right to follow your religion because I believe in that. I believe in freedom of religion. But you don't get to take your religion and force me to believe what you believe, because that's not how that works." But she goes
No.
on this rant. You know, it's epic. You know, I encourage you to look. You can simply, you know, Google for Anna Kasparian religious rant. You know, because that is that. It immediately she became my spirit animal, so to say.
Yeah. I think I reposted it on my TikTok or something because
Yeah,
but I didn't know her name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. But you know, I said whenever I saw that, I said to myself, "You go, girl. You tell it as it is," and that is what I think has changed nowadays. You know, religion always they bullies. There's a prominent African thinker. He's not a secularist or an atheist to say. He's more like a traditionalist. His name is Joshua Mapongu, and he said religions, in which he was talking about Christianity and Islam in the African context. He said they are by nature bullies. They behave like bullies. They will come into an African village and they will strip it of all its culture. You know, all your traditional gear, all your traditional wear, your traditional beads, your traditional practices, all of that immediately gets wiped out, and then you must put on a suit and tie and polish your shoes, and only then are you acceptable to be in the face of God. And he said it's time that we must wake up. He says he said what happened to Africa was that he tells the story. But he's so gifted at telling a story. I really encourage you to look for it and watch it. He said it's almost like these two friends are sitting in a hut at night where it's and they went to the shop to buy a packet of apples, and the first friend bites the apple. And he looks at it and he sees it's a worm, and he goes, "Oh!" He spits it out, and throws the apple away. Takes another apple, bites it again, and he sees, "Oh, another worm," And the friend looks at him and he says, "Hey, turn off the light." He says, because the only problem that we are having here is the abundance of light. So wow. If you don't see the worms, you can enjoy the apple in peace. And he said that is how Africans are treating the religion that they have been brought, that the colonizers brought here, because they will choose to turn a blind eye to everything that is grievous and egregious. And they will just and he said, like, we need to switch on the light of knowledge in the African mind. And I really, like I said, there's a lot of things that he says that I disagree with, because he's, like I said, he's a traditionalist, so he's way into the old cultures and things like that. But that was a very, very poignant thing.
Yeah, I don't know his religion per se, but I know Trevor Noah talks about how his grandma used to want him to pray because he was half white. So God would listen because God was white. according to what he felt. So the prayer, they were able to help him,
Yeah.
which that was a fucked up thought process. Now, my next question is: many people walk away from religion. What
Yeah.
motivated you to become an activist in the secular aspect?
Well, I when I really, when I was younger, I enjoyed the community aspect of religion. It really had a very strong unifying community aspect to it. And religion uses that very, very well. When people leave religion, they don't only lose the religion, they also lose the community. And I said to myself, fuck, there has to be like a free thinkers or a skeptics group or something that I can get involved in. And that is the main reason for me getting involved, in the community that I am managing at the moment. So I discovered Armin Navabi's, Facebook groups, where they had the Atheist Republic Facebook groups all over the world, and I decided, well, let me join. And later on, I joined, and then later on, became like the community administrator here for South Africa, and we want to grow this community. We want to create a space for atheists. We hold monthly virtual meetups where people can get together and talk. And it's not that we're trying to replace religion with atheism. It's just that we are social creatures. We thrive when we are in connection and communion with other people. Like you don't grow, your ideas don't grow if you have them only in isolation. So I got involved with that, and it's been a crazy ride. If you want to challenge, if you really want to challenge in your life, try to organize a group of atheists. Just go ahead. Give it your best shot. It is insane. Like a bunch of hard-headed, stubborn people we are, but also I have made so many deep connections with people, because we have a shared trauma. We have a shared trauma, and when we interact with one another, it's weird. It's because you almost get that connection. Like when you meet another atheist, you're like, I see you, I know what you have. You know exactly what I mean. And it's strange. But yeah, so that is where my activism, like I've never been the type of person to suffer injustice but I'm too old for the chaining myself to the bulldozer kind of activism now. I think I'm more better suited to organizing and getting the community established and doing that kind of work behind the scenes, because we must leave some of this for the young'uns. They must they must get their activism in. We can't have
Exactly.
While that fire is still burning white hot in them, there's this period when you just deconvert, where you want to take everybody by the shoulders and shake them and go like, it's a lie, wake up. And while that fire is burning in them, let them go and do to go and do all the protests and all of that stuff. But
yeah, I mean, I do it all the time still, and I'll be 51 next month. But I want stuff to be done. Nobody, like Mandisa made a comment. I want to post it. Show. This tends to be a very common thread for secular activists. We often have to create our own groups to start. Hold on, I got a cough. Hold on. cough and not go away. But yeah. I know with me,
it's the devil. The devil is riding you.
Yeah, like, you're not gonna finish this interview. Let me take a cough drop. So yeah, with me, like Mendisa had set the foreground, just like Armin did, where it was the space for you. All you had to do was just start your own group within that, but you had the protection of that main group. And people are like, oh, I can do it. I did it. You can do it.
Yeah, exactly. We are in exactly the same boat as well. It's when I was looking for to get more active in a community-based thing, it's the same thing. We standing on the shoulders of giants who walked this road before us, and we owe the people who have paved this way a big debt of gratitude, because without the work that they've done to initially establish these communities that we now partake in and that we are a part of, none of this would have been possible. So I am, it's not like I am going like, oh, thank you so much, you're so great. It's just like I recognize it, and I say, great thinkers have come before us, and we are merely walking ahead in that road that they've started building way back then. And it's interesting, like you start looking at atheists in history, and that is a rabbit hole that you can go down on, and you get some amazing people, especially people who are way ahead of their time. I mean, I don't remember the name of this, but there was an African-American woman, Butterfly McQueen or something she was called. And I read some of the stuff that she said, and I'm going like, man, this was way ahead of the time. And it's crazy how these people were just swept under the rug and ignored, So in our consulate, when we have a public holiday here called Heritage Day, and every Heritage Day that we have here in South Africa, I make a point of finding one particular atheist activist from history, and we sit and we discuss and we talk about it. And it's just, it's not a way of it's not ancestor veneration or anything, but it's good to remember where you come from and what the road that people have walked before us, because we learn from that. That's the quote. That's it. I love it. Yeah.
I resonated as a child, was very fascinated with Langston Hughes, and later on I found out that he was a free thinker as well. So I'm like, man, one of my role models, because I liked to write at the time. When I was in school. I might start doing it a little bit now, but I was like, man, to think that a lot of people that I really looked up to thought too wasn't part of the dogma either.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to me to think that.
Yeah.
But just like I had talked with Secular Word, he was my guest a couple weeks ago.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, he's cool. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I was like, here you are, like you and my daughter about the same age, and you guys decided religion was BS, and I was almost 40, or if not 40, when I realized it. I feel some kind of way, like I was that ignorant for that long. The other people came on there and said, well, I was 50, Kelly. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, I was 60 when I deconstructed. As long as you did it. I said, but still, I feel some kind of way that I was so, I consider old.
Yeah.
When I left religion.
I also, I try not to be resentful, and because I honestly feel that, there's some part of me that feels like religion has taken something from me, It's taken some of the best years of my life believing in this lie and everything, And I said to myself, like, why are you resentful about this? Like, it's part of who you are. It's part of your identity. It's the road that you've walked. And you can't go back and change it, so being resentful towards religion is sort of like wanting somebody else to die and then drinking the poison yourself. You're only making yourself sick at the end of the day, sitting with this resentment. And I chose to channel that resentment into action and activism. And every time that I feel that we are making strides against religion, that resentment towards all the time that religion is taken away from me, that diminishes every single time that we have a secular victory or a victory for free thought or something like that, or when we, when a religious critic, a critic of what we do, when they go silent, we know that we are vindicated and we are walking in the right path, because at the end of the day, I feel that truth just has what's the word? It has the power on its side. The truth will always, you can only perpetuate a lie for that long. You can only
They set you free. The truth will set you free. They always say.
Preach, my sister, preach. But you can only fool people that long. There's got to be somebody that wakes up to the truth. But it's crazy how that works, And the thing is, we were talking earlier about that idea that it's easier for you to fit in with a group, and it's easier for you to belong to a group. And we learned as a species, when we were still living on the savannah, hunting our food with spears every night, we learned that the guy who steps out of line, the guy who steps out of the group, is the one that dies in the bush. He's not the one that survives, And so we learned very, very early that it's dangerous to stand out from the crowd, and it's dangerous to disagree with the crowd. And it's only now that we are not dependent on, but I mean, it's fucked up that it's so built into our DNA. It's so built into the being of being human that we will, because we are these communal creatures, we very seldom want to step out of line because we fear that we're going to be kicked out of the group. That's crazy how that, that early remnant from our evolution as a species, it still haunts us to this day. It's crazy how that works. But yeah, that's my deal. My mission, and I always, especially when I go live on TikTok and that kind of thing, I always ask this question, and the question that I ask, especially African Christians here, I ask them, name me one thing that white Jesus has done for Africa and Africans. One thing. And it'll always they'll always tell you what people did for them, what other organizations did. They cannot name a single thing. And the thing is, I think we need to highlight this, because in my opinion, this is a remnant of colonization, is the way that it's captured people's minds. This idea of this. Look, I'm not saying that we all have to be these traditionalists and go back to your African roots and blah 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 and all of that, But I need people to realize that this is an import. It's an import. And especially it goes against every single humanist value that is so intrinsically African. There's such a rich tradition of humanism. Things like, we have a concept here called Ubuntu, which is very, very, it's intrinsically part of our South African culture. And at its heart is, humanism, because that saying, it basically in a local language, it encapsulates the concept of I am because we are. So it says I am because my community exists, and it's that same principle that we were talking about earlier, where the person is part of a larger community. And those humanist values have been whitewashed. They've been completely whitewashed by this religion that was imported onto the continent of Africa. And you'll have Africans now that they won't even consider the fact that there is this rich history of African tradition and everything that is so much part of their cultural identity. And they will completely whitewash it. No, it was evil, and there was demons and everything. There was ancestor worship and worship of nature. Oh, that's idolatry. Oh, no, no, no. I'm going like, motherfucker, what is Christianity? What the fuck is Christianity? That's something that's been imported and imposed on you, and your ancestors are cursing you from the grave for your slave ancestors were cursing you from the grave for the sellout that you've just done of your culture and your tradition. But it's very weird. Like I talk like I'm this cultural purist or anything. Like I fucking don't give a shit about culture and purity and all of that nonsense.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. It's very interesting that that people tend to brush this stuff off the table so quickly, and it's all because of religion. Religion's told them, that's the river spirit, that's evil.
Yeah, I don't know people's thought process and everything, but like when you start looking, and my first instance with dealing with atheist period was going to the Women of Color conference in 2020, and it was a phenomenal conference. But they actually had speakers that were in African and Middle Eastern countries that were decided to be silent, because if they spoke out about them being atheists, they could be put to death.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's only a few years ago.
Yeah.
And these
And it still happens today. It still happens today.
Yeah.
We are privileged. We are privileged to find ourselves in an environment where we can freely speak our minds. There are, and we deal with this on a daily basis. Even on the continent of Africa, there are countries where, like the north of Nigeria, for example, if you dare to speak a word against the Prophet of Islam, for example, you run the risk of spending a long time in prison for blasphemy. And there are blasphemy laws on the continent of Africa, in the Middle East. There are apostasy laws in the Middle East where people lose their lives just for leaving the faith. I mean, can you imagine the insecurity of a God? The insecurity of a God to punish humans for something as simple as disbelief. That doesn't say omnipotent creator of the universe to me. That says insecure daddy issues. I don't know what you would call it. But it's crazy, and that is something that I like to acknowledge that, because we tend to forget the struggle that other atheists, and we, as the Atheist Republic, we deal a lot with we get exposed, and it's heart-wrenching. It really takes a toll on you to hear these stories of people who are persecuted because, for example, in Africa they are LGBTQ or they are non-believers, and it's a desperate situation that people find themselves in. And we sometimes I feel so powerless, because deep down you want to be able to just go there and rescue a person and save them from all this oppression, but at the end of the day, we are very limited in the resources that we have at our disposal, so we try very hard to raise awareness about these issues. And I know we are, fighting against the thunder at the end of the day, but it is, that is what we can do, and I, like I said earlier as well, people always think that, activism is you chaining yourself to the Greenpeace boat. Activism is something as simple as simply standing up and saying, this is the line I've drawn in the sand, and that is where Zeus and the Kraken and White Jesus and Mo, that's where that stops, and this is where reality begins. And that is where I draw the line in the sand, and just to be that resistance, because if your silence is seen by religion as acceptance. It's seen as acceptance. So if you don't say, sorry, that doesn't fly with me, it doesn't fly over here, if you just keep quiet, they will think that you are accepting.
How dare you? How dare you say you don't believe in a God? Okay, now, last question.
Yeah.
This coffee on here. What short-term goals do you have for your organization, and how can others help, if possible, achieve these goals?
Community building. That's been a short-term, long-term. That's the goal that we have as an organization. We want to create that space where people, where people can land. When people jump off the religion train, when they jump off the religion boat, when they parachute out of the religion plane, we want to be that space where they can land, where they can realize, okay, I'm not alone. There are other people just like me, because we find a lot that when people have doubts, this is a very effective whip that religion uses to keep people in the church. Is they use that whip of community of, yeah, we're gonna take everything away from you. You're gonna be alone. We're gonna push you out into the bush, and you're gonna see how you survive on your own, without this community. And we, like I said, we get together, we do our own thing, and we grow organically. And we would just want to show people that there is life after religion. There's life after religion. There's community after religion. The word is. I
had to say that was funny to me.
Yeah. I was like,
in heat of the night.
What was I saying? Yeah, there is life after religion. There's community after religion, and you don't need to go through this alone. It's a traumatic thing to leave religion behind. Some people equate it to the loss of a loved one, and you need to go through that period. You need to grieve, and you need to realize what you've lost was not it was more like a toxic uncle that was constantly poisoning.
Many people do lose all their family. They walk away from certain, like the 12 Witness or Mormons or something. When they walk away from that, they have nobody.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
That's true. We have some ex-JWs in our organization as well, and the most amazing open people that I've met is some ex-JWs, because they really sacrifice everything, because those people, when you leave that religion, they shun you. You don't exist. You're dead. They don't talk to you. They don't even acknowledge your presence. You stop existing to them. And it's crazy how that can happen in families where your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather choose not to, you're dead to them just because you don't believe what they believe. I never can wrap my mind around that. I don't know how people live like that. I would never be able to. You know, sure, you know, like if you believe something else, you know, I get it. We don't think about the same thing, but that doesn't stop us from being fucking family. You know, you got
Exactly.
family. You know, like there's very little that you can do for me to say, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. You know. Yeah.
I
But this has
posted the
been
link. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. I was just going to say it's strange how yeah, you know, like for me a turning point in my activism, atheism, was when I read that book God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. It was a watershed moment, literally, because there's this line where he says religion infects us in the most basic of our, I don't know how he worded it, but it just it infects the most basic thing of our humanity, and it's crazy. It rings so true, because you'll have people and people struggle to make that distinction between I am not my religion. People have intertwined that into their personality so much. They'll think of us, for example, I am John and I am a Christian. That's how normal people would think about it. But people have flipped that around. It's like, I am a Christian and I happen to be named John. So it becomes such a big part of their identity that they filter everything. They filter everything through it.
Like you're more than that.
Sorry, I didn't get that. So what?
No, I said you're more than just John the Christian. I'm just saying that person. You're more than that. You don't just isolate yourself as being that one thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like when, I can, I don't care what you're from. If your mission is to kick white Jesus out of Africa, to kick Mo back to the Middle East, you are my friend. If that is your mission, we gotta get those motherfuckers off this continent.
Get out. Don't come back. You get the rules back. Don't you come back no more.
Go home.
Yeah, I just be like,
yeah, no, that's been crazy. Yeah, no, I want to thank you so much for having me. Like this.
I thank you for coming. This is a second conversation that we've had.
Anytime. Yeah, no, like I said,
this is your link. I'm putting it right here. That's his link. I'm gonna fix it so it'll be in the description.
Yeah.
He has great content as well. I didn't know. I guess on your YouTube you have your South Republic website on there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the links to the organization and everything is in there. So you can literally find Atheist Republic in every single country on the planet. I think there's one or two countries where they don't have, but there is a local grassroots community of atheists within your country in the major cities that you can connect with, so you don't need to feel alone or isolated. So if you find yourself on this journey of letting go of God and letting go of religion, look for people, and it doesn't need to be Atheist Republic. It can be Black non-believers. It can be any kind of organization. We are there. We are a landing spot for you. You will find community. You'll find like-minded people that you can discuss these ideas with, that you can connect with. We encourage you to reach out, find your tribe, and connect with people who are just like you.
Yep, because I know, like Cynthia, Cynthia McDonald, you work with her a little bit as well, and she sometimes has events with the Atheist Republic of Chicago. They combine and do stuff together. So yeah, that happens too. Like I work with humanist, Sunday Assembly, different groups. We combine events, do stuff. It's a community. It's a family of a group. You can work together. This space. You see how I've been on his show. He's been on my show. That's how we do it. We spread the love around, get everybody aware of the different channels and other things are around that we might have not been aware of. Thank you, internet, YouTube. Hold on. For that possibility. Now, I'm about to end the show. I guess we plugged everything we needed to plug already. I want to thank everyone.
Sorry, you guys can find me on TikTok as well. Just search for Atheist Republic South Africa, or my user handle is Holy Dandruff, because I asked myself, like, would Jesus' dandruff be holy? Would there be flecks of holiness on the shoulders of the Almighty?
You were the Pope of Atheism.
Yeah.
You was called the Pope of Atheism for a while. I'm watching your earlier stuff.
Yeah,
always
amazing.
Great talking with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And like I said earlier as well, if any of you guys need to connect with atheist communities here in the sub-Saharan African continent, I won't say we are very well connected, but we do have connections in most of the African countries. If ever you need to speak to activists or representatives of atheist or freethinker communities there, reach out to us. We can most probably connect you to them, or we can connect you with somebody who can connect you to them. So by all means, let's connect with one another and let's stay connected, because that's also something that we need to be mindful of. We're very quick to make connections, but we need to stay connected and keep those relationships with people going. Again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, 1 o'clock, ITC will be streaming on both Black Non-Believers and on my channel as well. So stay tuned for that episode. I'll see everybody in a few minutes practically. Until next time, bye everyone.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride.